Hidden Object Guru here with a look at Atari Mania, the latest attempt by the Atari people to reignite interest in one of the most classic brands in video gaming. On one level, it's the most basic thing imaginable. Let's do WarioWare with the Atari 2600. Really, how could that go wrong? Now, this is normally where I'd start writing a few cutting remarks about all of the mistakes that some developer made in totally misjudging the appeal of this retro collection. But here's the thing. As far as I can tell, the good folks at Logica didn't make any. The game's premise is wonderful. Players control a janitor who works at the Atari Museum, and one day he comes in to discover that in addition to sweeping up cobwebs, he'll have to battle a nefarious, chaotic entity that's possessed Bentley Bear, star of Crystal Castles and Atari's only successful attempt at creating a mascot. These monstrous entities have decided to rebel against the museum, announcing that it serves only to hide away games that aren't relevant any longer. And their plan is to get revenge on the wider world that's abandoned classic characters and game types for all the modern bells and whistles that the last 40 years of game design have ushered in. If the player wants to defeat them, they'll have to beat countless bite-sized pieces of video games. It starts out simply enough with the player asked to win a round of Pong or find a key while avoiding a dragon in Adventure. But then things get weird, and the retro titles start bleeding into one another. Suddenly players are using Pong paddles and balls to kill the mothership from Yar's Revenge, or using one of the combat tanks to blast a centipede as it crawls through the Dodgem maze. There's even some light puzzling to be done in the museum itself, with the janitor cleaning up messes, solving sliding block puzzles, and finding poster art and manuals for all of the games that are featured in the minigame sections. The graphics look wonderful. All of the classic titles have been updated to have more of a 16-bit look while keeping the gameplay perfectly intact. I find myself with only two complaints about the experience. The first is that Atari Mania doesn't offer full versions of the games with the new graphics to explore. Although, with this coming out right before the big Atari 50th Anniversary Collection, that's not really a surprise. The second was legitimately annoying, though. In order to unlock collectible art, the player has to feed cheese to mice and then win special, super difficult micro games with almost no extra lives. I was up for the challenge, but I wasn't particularly psyched to have to walk 3 or 4 screens every time I screwed up to grab a new piece of cheese from the dispenser. None of the other game's tools work this way, and it's a needless complication that adds nothing to the experience but frustration. Despite those minor quibbles, though, this is a fantastic tribute to the history of Atari and instantly joins the ranks of my favorite microgame collections ever. It's an 8 out of 10, easily. I've been the Hidden Object Guru. Join me back here for more game reviews, but until then, au revoir.